Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. The safety. It's a rather unconventional score, and it's something that doesn't happen too often. You maybe see it once a week around the league. But there have been some incredibly memorable safeties throughout the history of the sport. You have the very first play at Super Bowl 48, which set the tone for the entire game. You have the time the Vikings beat the Rams in 1989 on a walk-off safety in overtime. Basically, there are tons of safeties that live on in the lore of the NFL. But perhaps none are as controversial as this one. What you're about to see is a safety that cost a team the game that never should have happened, and should have been ruled a touchdown. What you're about to see is a safety where the referees got it wrong, and the game was essentially decided on that play. In a 1972 game between Washington and the New England Patriots, something transpired late in the fourth quarter that might just be the most controversial safety in NFL history. And this is the story behind that play. Before I show the play, we need some context leading up to the moment. It's October 1st, 1972, and Washington is traveling to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots in a pretty important early season contest. For New England, they enter this game at 1-1, coming off of an incredible 21-20 victory over the Atlanta Falcons, where the Falcons led 20-7 entering the fourth quarter, and then the Patriots scored the final 14 points, with the Falcons choking in the last minute after kicker Bill Bell missed a 10-yard field goal. This was the biggest fourth quarter choke ever by the Falcons against the Patriots. Never happened again. But this game is important for New England because you don't want to be below 500 after 3 weeks, especially with both the Dolphins and the Jets sitting at 2-0 in the division. Plus, of the 8 teams to make the postseason the year before in 1971, none of them were below 500 after 3. As for Washington, they're 2-0, and it seems like it's going to be a dogfight between them and the defending Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys for that division title. With Dallas having won 16 of its last 19 games and 23 of its last 27 dating back to the middle of the 1970 season, you know they're not going to be sliding in the standings, so every game counts if you want to overtake Tom Landry's squad. Early on, it looked like Washington was going to dominate this one. Eventual Hall of Fame receiver Charlie Taylor could not be stopped. As of the second quarter, he scored twice on 2 touchdown passes, courtesy of Billy Kilmer. Washington led at 14-0, and went into the halftime break with a 14-7 lead. But the Pats came storming back. They scored 17 straight to take a 17-14 lead going into the third quarter, with a tying touchdown coming courtesy of an 11-yard touchdown pass from Jim Plunkett to DC native Reggie Rucker. What followed was an absolutely wild fourth quarter, where the teams exchanged the lead. First, it was Washington out in front after Kilmer threw his third touchdown pass of the day, this time a 9-yard strike to the 2-time Pro Bowler, Jerry Smith. New England answered right back after Josh Ashton scored his second touchdown of the day off of a 24-yard pass from Plunkett. Fun fact, this was the first and only receiving touchdown of Ashton's career, and he picked a heck of a time to do it, as he gave the Pats the fourth quarter lead with less than 5 minutes to go. What follows is a controversial decision by George Allen that got panned and talked about by a lot of people afterwards, but I had no problem with it. Washington lined up for the field goal to tie the game, and Kurt Knight drilled it. However, New England was called for running into the kicker, giving Washington an automatic first down considering the yardage. Instead of declining the penalty and tying the game, Allen accepted it, hoping to possibly score a touchdown and win it. Remember that they did not play overtime back in 1972 in the regular season. The gamble backfired, as Washington is unable to find the end zone and Kurt Knight's field goal attempt misses. New England is now holding on to a 24-21 lead. Washington's defense gets a stop, and now there's 57 seconds left in the ballgame. The Patriots are punting it away. What follows might just be the most controversial safety in the over 100-year history of the NFL. Roll the tape.
Number 24, Bill Malinchak, blocked the punt cleanly, and he and Bob Brunet made a mad scramble to get the ball before it or they are out of the end zone. Malinchak covered it, but was ruled not to have possession in the end zone, thus giving the Redskins a safety instead of a touchdown.
It's a heck of a special teams play by Washington, as when things were looking at their worst, they found a way to get back in it. However, this was ruled a safety instead of a touchdown. Bill Malinchak was the one who blocked and recovered the punt, and this was the receiver's first time scoring any points since 1967, when he was with the Detroit Lions. This was credited as 2 points, when it should have been 6 in a Washington lead. It's tough to tell from that close-up angle, but from an overhead angle, it's clear as day. Malinchak had possession of the football before he went out of the back of the end zone. This is a touchdown. This is a block punt for 6. Washington should be up 28-24, assuming the extra point is made. Instead, they're still trailing and are behind 24-23. Washington got the ball back after the free kick, and Kurt Knight's 50-yard field goal, which was an unbelievably far distance back then, was no good. The Pats won at 24-23. What should have been a Washington victory was instead a heartbreaking defeat. And afterwards, all the talk was about that play. Now, part of what makes this arguably the most controversial safety in NFL history is because this play decided the game. We've seen other controversial safeties, like this atrocious run from a game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Tennessee Oilers back in 1998, where the referees just completely got the call wrong. But that play, as bad as it was, came in the first quarter, where there was still plenty of time to overcome the mistake. This one was with less than a minute to go in the game. While it's tough to play the game of what ifs, if this is called correctly, I highly doubt that New England's offense is going to go 80+ yards in under 45 seconds to score the game-winning touchdown. This call cost Washington the game. Defensive end Ronald McDowell said the whole sequence was strange, saying, "I've been in some strange games, but that's about as crazy as you can get." Malinchak, the man who scored on the play, was furious at the officials, saying the ball was a yard from the back of the end zone when I got it. The guy who called it was 20 yards up the field. Obviously, there was no instant replay back in 1972, as that would not be implemented until 1986, which you can learn more about by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And for those curious, the referee who made this call was John McDonough, who was widely regarded as one of the better referees in the sport. He officiated Super Bowl IV. He was working with the NFL and the AFL for over a decade at this point, and was the referee for the famous playoff game less than a year prior to this one between the Miami Dolphins and Kansas City Chiefs, which went into double overtime and went down as the longest game ever played. This was just a rare miss on his end. Fortunately, in the grand scheme of things, this did not matter. While the play stung at the time, and while bettors would be upset, for both Washington and New England, this play had no implication whatsoever on their seasons. Even though the Patriots started off 2-1 and looked like they had a shot at being competitive, they dropped 10 of their final 11 games to end the season with a 3-11 record. As for Washington, they won the NFC East. They finished with the best record in the conference and made it to their first Super Bowl in franchise history, playing in Super Bowl VII, where they lost to another AFC East team in the undefeated Miami Dolphins. I made a video about that game, which you can check out by clicking the card in the upper right corner. We've seen our fair share of controversial scoring plays, and we'll definitely see some more as time goes on. But in terms of safeties, especially with what we have now with instant replay, it's going to be tough to top this one. Washington lost the game because of a botched call that should have been a touchdown, but instead was ruled as a safety. It's not often that you see a team complain to the referee after scoring, but that's exactly what happened in 1972 with what might just be the most controversial safety in NFL history. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JaredGator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters who help with the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.